Hello, friends and lovers. Which one are you?
I don't know.
Or are you an enemy of the state?
I'm definitely an enemy of the state. I was thinking about that in the bathroom. I was like, will I say I'm a friend?
Do you even like that I...
both? Say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot.
Okay, I like it too. I did it as a joke, and then I was like, this is fun, and no one else does it. The kittens, if you can fucking see them in the background, are knocking in and out the light in the background. The cats in the background are loud because they're tiny monsters. Cats got me distracted. So, if you can read, this is about Are You the One? Which Elsa and I have been watching for like 2-3 seasons now. This is our 3rd season watching it.
Third, yeah.
Yeah. So, Elsa and I started watching Are You the One because...
Because of you. You literally called me on the phone and you said, here's a good show that I think you would like. And I go, I don't watch reality television. And then you were like, but it's good. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, it is good.
Yeah. Literally all my friends are always dragging me because I'm like the one who likes reality television.
Yeah.
It's because I'm trash on the inside and the outside.
Yeah.
What's interesting about Are You the One is that it's a gamified dating show, essentially. So you have, usually, most seasons... Can you take that out? I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. At least I've got this lesbian Henley on.
That's a mood. I did like that a lot. I kept looking.
I got it at Urban. I wore 2 different Henleys today, both from Urban. Look, they make me feel like actually non-binary.
Right, that's why I like it. Not on you. I mean, like when I
know,
wear
in
one,
general.
I'm like, I'm a dude now. Not really.
So are you gonna come out in this video or something? No, I'm not. Don't watch this. I look like I got punched in the eye. I hate you. Usually, Are You the One is like a normal reality TV dating show where it's just straight people. So usually sucks. Then
there's usually 11 couples that are trying to find their perfect match.
22 individuals set up together by, they say matchmakers, I say the producers. It's the producers. And basically they have like 10 or 11 chances to find out who is their perfect match according to the producers. And each week there's both a matchup ceremony where people decide who they are. The kittens have joined us, who they want to sit next to in this ceremony that basically decides, like, it helps
this
to, like...
This person is my perfect match.
Yeah, it helps to measure the progress, because at those matching ceremonies, there are these 11 beams of light that will shine if they got matches correct. So if they got 1, they'll get 1 light, and if they get all 11, they'll get 11 lights. And in between... they can go into what's called the truth booth, which is just like this fucking hut that tells them if they're correct or not. The reason we're doing this is because we just started watching this season, which I've been highly anticipating, because this season they're doing a fluid version.
They've recruited anyone that has a sexually fluid identity.
And there are 2 non-binary people on the show, which is excellent. But mostly everyone is cis. What's different about this current season is that there's only 16 individuals, 8 potential matches.
Basically, the statistical odds of having to have 11 matches when you can be matched up with anybody
is impossible.
So freaking impossible.
And I forgot the most important part, which is that if they get all of the total matches correct, they as a group win $1 million. So usually every season, each individual could win $52,000. Let's do it, because this season they've got better odds on getting $1 million. They would win $62,500.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think today we want to talk in general about
the fact that it is like a queer dating show. Yeah,
and basically we just kind of want to take the opportunity to like evaluate it in terms of, like, how good of a job it does in representing the queer community.
Yeah.
Since technically it's kind of the only show of its kind that's available right now.
Elsa's adding all these caveats because I keep on bringing up the real L word, which is old, was only lesbians, and also wasn't, like, a game dating show.
Right.
Like, bisexuals and pansexuals get, like, no notice on television or media in any form. So, like, that was really cool. It's also MTV, which makes it very interesting. MTV usually is very heteronormative. Anyone remember 16 and Pregnant?
I also think it's just, like, it's falling in an interesting position because on one hand, it's kind of serving as a way to raise awareness to different queer identities. It's, I don't know, I guess bringing that more to a mainstream heteronormative audience.
Yes.
Like, I think you did mention earlier that, like, you know queer people that would probably watch this show more than anyone else. So it is, like, hitting...
Yeah, it's hitting a good demo. Because, like, my argument... Not, like, an argument, but my point was that, like, when you put it up against, like, the biggest reality TV of its kind, like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise, like... straight people watch the Bachelor franchise, whereas I know more queer people that actually watch Are You the One? We were just watching it, and since I only wrote down the problems because everything else is basically the same as the other seasons, which is, like, normal, like, people don't know how to communicate, or people are bad at relationships, like, duh, it's reality TV. But we did find that, as opposed to other seasons, there wasn't really that much of an intro into the different people. Usually, like, you get a little bit of, like, I'm Caitlin, and I'm a software engineer. I love hanging out with the lads. You know, basically, like, what they do on Love Island.
Yeah.
What do you think about Brexit?
What's that? Like,
Where we're leaving the European Union.
I seriously don't have a
So, like,
clue.
it was to leave the EU, so we wouldn't be part of Europe.
EU. So does that mean we won't have any trees?
Doesn't it mean it would be harder to, like, go to, like, Spain and stuff?
So it'll be harder to go on holidays?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I love my holidays.
Yeah.
And then they, like, give them their little, like, description of, like, oh, I'm the serial cheater. Oh, I'm the player. Oh, I'm the person that gets friend-zoned all the time, etc., etc., etc. They have their own little kind of description or box that they're supposed to, like, play within.
Yeah, or, like, what
show.
tends to be their biggest problem in a relationship. And this season...
They didn't do any intros, basically, for the season for the different... I was about to say characters. They're real-life people.
And so that's difficult as a viewer because then you're essentially... You know even less about the characters than, like, we usually would. And then on top of that... you mentioned that they didn't have anyone's pronouns out.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because we know for a fact that there's 2 non-binary people there.
One who uses he, him pronouns and one who uses they, them pronouns. And it would have been great to have that along with their names.
Right.
Which they didn't do. And I think they have been even showing the names less than usual.
It's just like, yeah.
It just
used
dropped
to, like,
us
have
into
it,
the
like,
show.
whenever there was, like, 3 people talking, it'd be like, boop, boop, boop. And then you know all their names. And, like, it's super hard when you have just a bunch of new faces in one place all talking to each other about different things. And there's already different people hooking up with different people and stuff like that. So it just gets really confusing. So then on top of it, like, me as a viewer, like, I'm not trying to misgender anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody in the house is already having...
issues, because they
issues with that.
all seem to be cis, at the least.
Yeah. So... It would just be nice as a viewer to have, one, feel connected to them, but even on just, like, that basic level of, like, that's, like, I don't know, that's pretty core identity, I would assume.
Yeah.
So, like, to not be able to know that as a viewer is kind of interesting because they really play out the whole idea of, like, their sexualities are fluid, but they're also introducing this concept of gender being fluid.
Yes.
And that's, like, an important topic that's more to think about.
Yeah.
But then they're not supplementing that with anything. Like, you're really relying on those people themselves to describe themselves, what their life is like, and how that affects them and their relationships or how they just go about in life in general.
Yeah.
So...
Which is really problematic because I'm sure plenty of viewers don't know people who use alternative pronouns. So that's very difficult. And yeah, it really could have been improved in that way.
And I feel like it's just more normalized, too. If, like, the show is like, yep, okay.
Literally within, like, the first 10 minutes, someone already asked someone what their pronouns were. Yeah. And it would have been great to just put it under everyone's name. Yeah. You know, the same way that, like, America's Next Top Model shows, like, your age and where you're from. What about, like, their name, their pronouns? That's fine. It's so simple. You don't even need to say that they're, like, a serial cheater or, like... Yeah. Whatever, addicted to monogamy. Like, you could just... Yikes. Yeah. Well, they could... It's literally, like, the most important thing, and it's so basic, and MTV could have just done that. Producers.
It's simple.
I'm your new producer. Yeah. Thank you.
I guess while we're kind of, like, on that general topic, this idea of, like, they're kind of using the whole premise of using a queer cast. And basically, like, what are kind of some of your opinions on, like, playing into certain stereotypes and or not playing into those stereotypes and showing a different side that, you know, the general cis heteronormative public would not know about.
Well, so before we keep going, I want, like, all of the viewers to know that Elsa is you're straight?
Sure. I generally identify as cisgendered and heterosexual.
Yeah. And everyone knows that I'm gay as fuck. So I think they're trying to dispel a lot of stereotypes by not doing, like, a gays-only event, go home.
This is a gays-only event, go home!
And also, like, not making it straight and, like, really trying to, like, play with the odds. Because that's, like, one of the major parts of watching the show is, like, that the odds are...
Not in their favor.
Not in their favor.
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
But they pull through. You love that arc.
Knowing
at the end that they're just gonna get it.
I mean, we've seen it happen so many times at this point. I mean, it's so easy. Like, the odds really are in their favor.
I know.
If they shortened it by one episode, MTV would save so much money. That's, like, the babyest of baby steps. That's, like, a half step in the right direction. But, you know, we've already knocked him down a peg with not putting the pronouns. That's problematic. Also, like, they've really been...
Just like every time my eyes get big, you know it's because of something the cats did.
In, like, literally, like, the first 10 minutes of the show, and also in all of sort of, like, the advertisements for the show, they were like, everyone's attracted to everyone.
Oh my god. That was just, like, the dumbest thing.
Which is so stupid, because I am a non-binary bicentennial, and let me tell you, this is the ugliest fucking season of the show I've ever seen. That's problematic. And then that same girl within, like, the first 10 minutes was like, yeah, like, I started figuring out that I wasn't straight because my boyfriend and I started having, like, all these threesomes. And it's like, honey, you're representing all bicentennials to the public right now. And I do mean bisexuals. But it's just an old Tumblr habit that will die hard. So, like, don't do that.
Yeah. It's just because there's so many stereotypes, like, because out of the sexualities that we've heard explicitly identified so far in these, like, first two episodes, people have said that they're bisexual, and people have said that they're pansexual.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of, like, the advertising and, like, the beginning part that you were talking about, where it's before, like, anyone meets anything, it's just people talking to the confessional kind of thing.
Yeah.
Saying things along the lines that it really kind of appeals to those stereotypes, or just in the context that they were cut. Like, I don't want to necessarily blame 100%.
I don't think you can blame the people that are talking
because that stuff gets thrown out of context all the time, and people ask, like, you know, producers ask really targeted questions in order to get really specific responses.
Yeah.
And, you know, all power to the girl who, like, you know, wants to have threesomes and stuff like that.
And also,
and be bisexual.
Tons of people figure that out about themselves, but
Right.
also the producers and the editors could have made a much smarter choice in not fucking including that, because that just perpetuates a really, really harmful stereotype that bisexuals only want to have threesomes, and then we've already had an issue of questioned loyalty, which is totally fine because it's literally been 2 episodes of a show that is all about dating around. And I think they should be dating around, because how the hell else are they supposed to win $1 million? Like, that's how you got to do it.
Yeah.
But one of the people in the show has already kind of, like, shown that they aren't loyal, which is... it was always going to be something that was going to be walked into, because bisexuals are often accused of cheating. So that's just something to think about. I don't think that's a fault of the show or anyone as an individual.
Right.
I think that's just sort of the nature of the environment of the show.
Yeah.
Like, the whole game of it. I mean, you know, I'm always saying when we're watching this that, like, they should just have less of an emphasis on monogamy.
Yeah.
Because that's just a better way to play it.
And we, like, had an entire separate conversation about this when we were...
Because we're friends.
Actually watching? Actually watching the show. And it's interesting just, like, how the kind of idea of monogamy just also intertwines so heavily with the fact that these people have issues with trust, have issues with vulnerability, have issues with intimacy, have communication issues and stuff like that. Like, all those tend to be very kind of personal problems that are then exacerbated
on a dating show or any sort of relationship.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, they're all put in here with the expectation that initially they're going to have to be with a lot of people in either romantic sense or in a sexual sense or whatever, in order to find who their perfect match is. But it's kind of interesting then at the same time that, like, so early on, people are already, you know, actually playing to that kind of game. And also, like, more so than I feel like in past seasons. And past seasons, I feel like, because they usually start with, like, you know, getting together and starting to drink and have this, like, big party on, like, the first night. But I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about it or when they show, like, clips of people talking at the parties, it's always like, oh, I'm really into this person. I want to try to get them to like me. Yeah. It's kind of, like, the vibe and feel that I get. Whereas here, I definitely, and I don't know if this was, like, primed by what we saw in the beginning and how that was exposed, or if that's primed by my own biases or what, but I do feel like it seemed to go into more with this premise of, like, who can I hook up with and how many people can I hook up with? Like, that's kind of the vibe I was getting. And I don't know, like, if you have...
I mean, I definitely...
that you could kind of say on that from a more queer perspective, or if that's something that's directly linked to the show and how they're doing it, or just the people that are in the house.
I mean, I don't know what happens on behind the cameras or in the editing room. Like, that could totally be just the cut that everyone's getting. The edit everyone's getting. But I definitely think that we're already starting to see, like, different parts of, like, queer culture blooming up. Like, this one girl, Amber, had one conversation with a girl and already decided that they were a perfect match, which to a heterosexual watching would be insane. But that is, like, so lesbian. That is, like, cut and dry. Like, she wanted to U-Haul. And, like, that's a lesbian thing, is that lesbians U-Haul, they, like, move in together after, like, a month of dating. And then you have one of the guys, Remy, who has this act like he's just there to hook up and, like, wants to hook up with a lot of people. And then you also have one guy named Kai who has hooked up with multiple people on the show. And so you have sort of, like, this dichotomy where you have this one girl who's, like, pretty much only been dating girls, but she says she's sexually fluid, so we have to believe her. We've already we're seeing this huge spectrum of, like, the lesbian who gets married after, like, one conversation, and then we have the guys that are like sleeping around a lot, which is a big part of like gay male culture. It's more so because of queer culture.
Oh, so because of queer culture, that's why we're seeing certain tendencies.
And then we have the vast majority of the people on the show who are just like normal, but they haven't been sort of like, I guess, either exposed to the culture as much or just like don't participate in it in that same way.
I also think it's like interesting though, because we do have people from a lot of different backgrounds. Like we have a lot of people from the South. So I can imagine that that would be vastly different than what someone closer to any city would experience.
And I think that that's like a big part of why, because like straight culture's no culture.
Something else different in this episode, not generally related to the queerness, but they do have a doctor. Doctor of what exactly, we don't know. But she's supposed to be a relationship expert, which is actually good because everyone that goes on the show needs help. And they just fall into the same freaking cycles, and it's so annoying. Like, I get it, but it's also annoying. It's annoying. I'm glad that they're trying to do something more focus related to actually trying to help them through it. And I think it'll just be interesting to see where the season goes.
And it'll definitely be really cool for the viewer. Like, I think a lot of what this season is like doing things for the viewer, you know? Yeah. Like, I think they're changing so many things because they know who their demographic is. And they know, like, that, I don't know, that they could set an example.
That I have intimacy issues, too. And I need to know this.
One of the last things that we wrote down was that we were kind of curious as to how many people on the show ascribe to, like, a more old school, like, not quite educated, not actually correct view of bisexuality, which is that it's men and women. And they haven't really mentioned anything about that. Like, all of the portrayals of trans people have been extremely positive, which is my favorite thing so far.
Yeah, I was about to say, the thing that I keep thinking about is the scene with Kai doing his injections.
Yes, so they show Kai doing tea because he's on tea, and it's really great. It's, like, super informative. I want to say it did feel a little scripted, so as much as they like to say that the producers aren't there leading them on to do things other than the confessionals, I do have the feeling that the producers or camera people were like, hey, are you going to do your shot right now? Can we use this as a moment? Which is a good thing, I think.
I'm glad that they intentionally wanted to do it, but I 100% agree because last season the producers intentionally tried to get people to have an orgy together.
That's true.
And it happened. So
really their portrayal of like gender fluid people is excellent, and it's so informative. And I mean, I don't think there's ever been a person doing hormone shots on reality TV before. Nope. Which is amazing. This is just kind of like our intro. I think, I don't know, you and I really like this show, so we might do more videos on it.
I'm obsessed with this show.
I'm obsessed with this show.
Well,
yeah, we might make it a series. We were also definitely thinking about doing a fun one that might have to do with the Zodiac. So
that'd be fun.
If you're interested in that, definitely leave a comment. Leave a like on this video. If you also like the show, I want to hear what your thoughts are.
Comment if you've been on this show.
If you've been on this show, message me privately because I want to be on this damn show. Please. I'm trying so hard.
You so nicely.
I want to be on really bad. This is
what we thought. Will future episodes change our opinions?
Definitely.
We'll see.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching. You can find all of my social media down below. If Elsa gives me permission to put all of her social media down below, it'll be down below.
You don't want to look at it, it's fine.
And you should go and watch our really old videos that she's in with me.
They're about books.
They are about
books.
They're
all about books and a movie.
Yep, the only things that I'm interested in. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.
Bye!
This video is over now.
Slime. Am I having a stroke?
Mamma mia, here I go again. How could be a